anything that's not sustainable is not worth doing, in my opinion, right? There's so many ways you can lose weight and change your body, but if you can't maintain that for the long run, then what's the point? Because then you're just going back to where you've been, right?
Hey. Welcome, guys, to the Strong Beauty Method podcast. I am your host, Lydia Martinez Ebling, and this is the go-to spot for every woman over 40 looking to get healthy, fit, strong, and more confident in their own skin. So I shared with you before, and I'm going to keep saying it, that I have some really cool friends. And I said that I was going to bring them on, and that's what I started doing. But one of the biggest things, the friends that I'm bringing on, is just not experts. It's about women, and we're just talking about this. It's about women that have a story to share. Because 40 and over, do you feel like you live so many lifetimes in a lifetime? And we have wisdom to share. We have a journey to share and to empower and encourage other women that, that's just been through some crap. So today, and I always say this, I'm super duper excited, but I truly am, because I love talking to strong, powerful women. I migrate to them. So I'm super excited for our guest today. I was able to meet her. It's been almost a decade now. And we were in a mentorship program together, and we connected, and it's just like right away I always knew that there was going to be a connection. I didn't say it, but I just knew there was like something there. But anyway, our guest today, she has been in the industry for over 17 years when it comes to health and fitness and nutrition. She started her journey, I believe, at Columbia University, transferring over to Miami and getting her, was it master's or?
Yeah, my
Master's
master's in sports medicine.
in sports medicine. She's owned her own facility, the Synergized Fitness and Performance that actually transitioned over to CrossFit. But then in September, it's almost a year ago, over a year ago, gosh, I'm
Yeah,
terrible
over
at
a
math.
year.
Over a year ago, you shut down your facility, but you didn't leave the industry. You decided to go and really just focus in on women like us. So Shondelle Soloman, welcome to the Strong Beauty Method podcast. I feel like I never do justice when it comes to the bio, but I think when they hear from you, that's the justice that will be served. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. The intro was perfect.
Oh,
You got
thank you.
all the main parts.
All the main parts. I say, well, you're so smart.
Smart is
Because you're right.
relative, but I've
I'm a smart ass, so I will take that. I've worked hard at it.
yep, that's good enough.
But,
No, you're
let's talk about you for a second. What was it? Share with our ladies and our viewers, our listeners, because this is, both audio and video. What started you in the industry? You studied Columbia University, Miami, sports medicine. What was it?
so in fitness directly. That was really kind of just it was like not deliberate. I was at Columbia University. I needed a work study job, and they put me in the gym. So that's like where I first just got, immersed into like gym life, workout life. Now, I've always been an athlete. I've always gravitated towards competition and movement and stuff. So it was a natural place for me to be. But it wasn't like I consciously chose, at least at that point, that this is the career that I wanted to pursue. So I was in the university gym, and just to pass time, I started like playing around on equipment and just like seeing how stuff worked. And then, I always looked fairly athletic. So people, I'm 17, 18 at the time. So yes, people just assumed like I knew what I was doing in there. So they'd start asking me questions and to help them out and like help them work out. So I had no clue back then what I was doing, but I guess I knew more than they did. So I started just helping out in the gym. And then it just felt like a very natural place for me to be. Like I just enjoyed that environment, helping people and working out. So after I graduated, well, actually before I graduated, I decided to pursue my personal training certification and
Okay.
got more serious about that, and then started like sneaking people from the out. This was in New York City, so I would sneak people, like market in New York City and sneak people into the Columbia gym and train them, and then and that actually inspired them to create a personal training department because they didn't have one. So
Oh
when I
wow.
got caught doing that, they were like, well, clearly there's a need for this. So that inspired them to start a personal training department, and then it just kind of went from there. Once I graduated, I did some, global health club gyms, working as a trainer, did it on my own for a while, and then I just kind of got, after working with Gold's Gym here in South Beach, when I moved to Miami in 2000, I was working, Gold's Gym just opened in South Beach, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I get to be in South Beach, and I'm going to, and that was pretty cool for a while. But the emphasis there was really on like numbers and hitting quotas and like how much personal training you could sell, and it was just so corporate, and it didn't resonate so well with me. I wanted to help so many people, but a lot of them couldn't afford what they were charging. So that's what inspired me to kind of go out on my own and start Synergize and boot camps. I mean, I had a long journey. I've been doing this for 30 years, so there's a lot of things have happened during that time, from the age
Yeah,
of,
so your facility you had for over 17 years, but
yeah,
you've been in the
exactly.
industry
Since
for 30
college. I mean,
years.
it's the only thing I've professionally done. I mean, I probably had like a 5 month stint as like a social worker immediately after college, but outside of that, it's all I've done professionally. It's really what I'm passionate about, and what's just it's natural for me.
Right. Now, what are you most passionate about? Because fitness, it's such a broad term, right? But so when you think of fitness as in the term, what are you most passionate about? Is it working with women now, or has it always been women, or is it just general functional movement?
Yeah, it's I like working with anyone. I mean, I've lately been working exclusively with women, but I do like I'm a hardcore, like I like high intensity. I was an athlete, so I kind of have that athletic like mindset. So I gravitate towards men and women who are just willing to like work hard.
Okay.
There's no specific like demographic. It's just more of like a mindset that you come into it with, like knowing that it requires work, right? And you've got to be willing to put in the work. And also I take a holistic approach to the transformational process. So it's not just about working out. Even though I had a gym for a lot of years, and that was kind of the focus of my career, I realized that there's so many other elements that go into, transformation and health. And workout is a small piece of the puzzle.
Right.
Yeah. So now that I'm not in the gym setting anymore, that's expanding even more for me, where I'm realizing all the other elements that are important. And that's a huge part why I'm inspired by your work, is because the hormonal piece was such a piece that I was missing for a long time. I knew that it was a huge factor for women, but I didn't know enough to like put it, make it a part of what I was offering. And I needed to learn a lot more. So
Well, I mean, and science just evolves so quickly, and we learn from not just from science, but our experience is the best teacher in a sense.
yep,
And like you
100%.
said, like exercise is the smallest component. Or I shouldn't say the smallest component, because it's a really important component, right? But if you don't have other things in place, general nutrition, or just really mindset, like you said, having
Yeah.
that individual that's willing to show up and then do the work is the biggest key. But so what are some things that you have found over the years of working with people that they need outside of just fitness?
Outside of just working out, you mean
Yeah,
fitness?
outside of just
Or
working out. Yeah.
well, you just touched on one of the main things, is just the mindset, right? And how you
Hmm.
approach it and how you think about it and your belief on can you change? I think that's a limiting factor for a lot of people. I mean, women in particular, like just not believing it that they can actually change because they've done so many things, they've tried so many things, and they
Hmm.
say a lot of women I talk to, it never fails. Like, oh, I've done all the things and nothing works, or it works for a little while and then it doesn't.
Hmm.
So a lot of them go into when they're starting any journey, they kind of go into it already partially believing that it's not going to work.
Yep.
So belief is a
Hmm.
huge part of it. Like, I think that's the starting place, because if you don't believe something is going to work, you're really not going to put forth 100% effort, right? There's always going to be a part of you that's like, I'm not going to play fully because I know this isn't going to work. So
Well,
mindset is the foundation.
yeah, huge. I mean, because you're self-prophesying. If you think if it's always going to be hard, it's always going to be difficult, it's not going to work, then that's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be hard, difficult, and it's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's certain things that you got to have in place, right? And you alluded to it as far as the hormone factor. What was it? At what moment did you realize hormone was like a big thing for women?
Well, in running the gym and seeing a lot of, the 40 and over demographic of women, like doing all the things that they should be doing, as
Hmm.
far as eating clean, they're coming in consistently, they're working out, like, and their bodies changed significantly. Were different than my younger clients, or they just
Hmm.
complained all the time, like, I'm doing all the things, I'm eating the way I'm supposed to eat, I'm coming here 4 days a week, and I like the weight's not coming off, like it's not
Right.
working, you know. So that was probably like the big, I mean, and seeing that more just over and over again, like more consistently. And then I started to notice, like, once these women start getting into their 40s and beyond, it does get to be a lot harder. And I'm 50. I think
Hmm.
I have a little, I mean, I definitely see a difference in my body now than when I was in my 30s and 40s, especially in the like midsection area.
Hmm.
But I also think that, genetically I have a little bit of an edge with just like, muscle and leanness. It's just kind of my body type. And I've also been doing this so long. Like, I've been working out
Right.
and lifting weights for so long. So that has given me, I think, an advantage in navigating these years. And a lot of the women that I'm working with now, this is like they've never lifted a weight. They've
Right.
never,
Yeah.
or not consistently enough. You know what I mean? And I'm seeing what the like the consequences of that are.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so important. Like, strength training for women 40 and over is like paramount. Like, I tell women, like, forget the card. Not that, you can go get on your cardio machines if you feel like you need a sweat and you want all those things, but you gotta lift a weight. Like, it's
Hmm.
so important, right?
And
And then
and go ahead.
and then the nutritional factor, of course, which is, probably the greatest challenge for most women is
Hmm.
like, and not just women, just people in general, because we live in a culture that's we're so, food is such a huge part of everything that we do. And unfortunately, we don't have, we have some really bad food in this country right now, right?
You
Our
got that
food
right.
quality, yeah, so it's hard. Um, and it's really just about, my goal is just to really help women to change habits, because that's really
Hmm.
what it's about. It's changing your habits so that you just naturally do certain things without it being so much of an effort. I tell my clients all the
Right.
time, like, I don't like working out. I really don't. Every day I think of a reason why I shouldn't do it. Like, when I get ready to work out, there's always like all the things as to, today you probably just had this yesterday, and I always will think of the things. But I,
I'm like, oh, I need
because,
to fold the laundry.
yeah, anything. Like, I need to clean my grout. I need to, like, anything. And they think they have this, perception that because this is what I do, like I love, like I'm a gym rat and I just love working
Right.
out. And that's not the case at all. It's just that it's habit for me now. You know, it's the same as like making my bed, brushing my teeth, I don't know, taking out the trash. Like you just do things because it's what you do in a day and without giving any emotional attachment to it.
Right.
And that's kind of what it's become for me. And so that's what I try to instill in my clients. Like, we've got to get to a point where this is habit for you, because once it becomes habit, then you're not going to be so, it's not going to be determined based on how you feel that day.
Right. Right. Because you made it your identity. And that's what, because I'm the
Yes.
same way. People always are surprised that, because I really hated working out. Like, just because, I mean, I really hated it. And that's why I always, when we had our facility in Maryland, it was always athletic training versus strength training. And now that I do more strength training now than anything. And I love it because I shift my thought process on it, because the reason I liked athletic training, because everything was fast, right?
Yeah.
Get in, get out. But then,
Get it done.
yeah, but then I was busting my butt all the time trying to do it, and again, it's become an identity. Eating the right types of food is part of my identity. It's not a thought process, because I feel better. I feel better after I work out. I feel better when I take a shower and brush my teeth. Hey, go figure. Right?
Exactly. Right? You just, regardless of how how you feel. So detaching from the feeling of it is like one of the main teaching, like, principles that I feel that women and just people in general need to understand. Like, it's really not about how you feel about it, right? Meal prepping and weighing food and tracking, like, yeah, that can be tedious at times, and it's not something you forever and always have to do, right? But if you want this end result, you've got to do it regardless. And you don't attach any kind of emotion. Like, whoever feels like working out or whoever feels like meal prepping, I know I don't, you know what I
Right.
mean? But you do it because
Right.
it's got to get done. So
When I was growing up, my dad used to say, he was Mexican, so he had his Texas accent, but he used to say, baby girl, anybody tell you that they like working, they're lying. It's just something you got to do. That's what he said. And it's
yeah,
true. I mean, it's just something that you do, and it's it's always, detaching from it. One of the things that we always tell our ladies is that, we didn't come out of the womb doing lunges and squatting, 220 pounds. All these different things. It's a skill set that we've learned. And when it's a skill set, what's cool about it is you can learn it and you can master it. But it's your choice. You got to
yep,
decide if you want to do that.
yep.
What do you, what do you think is like the biggest thing that, because we alluded to the mindset part of it, but what do you feel is like the biggest thing that hold women back when it comes to the results?
Man, there's several, but one big one is just not prioritizing themselves. I think a lot of women, I mean, the one, now that I'm exclusively online training, so I get to have a lot more conversation than I did in the gym environment. And that's kind of the pervasive, like, thing. Like, it's if I get the time, if, the kids don't have whatever games after school, like all the things, like we're always putting ourselves like in the back burner, not a priority, not scheduling the workouts, not scheduling time to meal prep, not taking time just to like be alone and breathe and like take a little time out just to not be overly stressed. It's always kind of if I find that if it works out, then I'll take care of myself. So I'm always teaching, like, you've got to prioritize yourself, because I mean, we hear it all the time, right? They say the cliche oxygen mask thing, like, what
Yeah.
does it say? You got to put yours on for it. It's that, right? If you're constantly
Right.
giving and not taking care of yourself, you're going to get to a point where you're just not working anymore, mentally, physically, all the things. So
Right.
that is the biggest thing. Just a lot of women have a hard time making themselves important.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that. I mean, and I'm not surprised, right? Obviously, because we've both been in the industry same amount of time. I hate admitting almost 30 years. But earlier today, I kind of went on a rant because I was like, I'm so annoyed, because I always ask questions. I'm like, what do you think is the biggest thing that's going to hold you back from 2025? Is it like money? Is it time? Is it not knowing what to do? Is it yourself? And like 100% almost was myself. It's myself. It's myself. I'm like, that drives me crazy because it's like that we've been programmed to put everyone else first and that we are being selfish and also that and I'm not like this big feminist, women can do anything. It's none of that. It's just like, just respecting who you are and knowing that you can be a better person, right? And take care of your family and do your career, right? I mean, there's a balance, and it's not meaning that you're not going to struggle, but in order to be well, or good at anything that you do, you got to take care of yourself first. And I get so frustrated with it. I'm like, I flip out.
Yeah, I mean that's just, it really is just common sense, right? The better you feel and the healthier you are, the more of yourself you can bring to all your other relationships, right?
Yeah.
It's like pretty, I mean, that's pretty 1 + 1 = 2 kind of thing, but it's not, unfortunately, easily embraced by many women. They do feel selfish, or
Yeah.
they just feel like there's all these other things that are more important. So I always encourage them to like start the day with themselves, ideally, right? And there's some schedules that don't allow that, but usually most people can wake up even if just 30 minutes earlier, if that's all they have in the day, and just spend the first part of your day taking care of yourself. Now that may be working out, that may be going for a walk, that may be just sitting and reading or staring out the window or whatever it is, but you've got to start the day, I personally, with my faith and giving time to the Creator, and then to myself, always first and foremost before anything else, and then it just makes everything else make so much easier.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. It's just like that.
But it's easier said
peaceful
than done,
time.
I do think. It's easier said
Yeah,
than done. It's a habit. It's a habit, right?
right, exactly. Here's the thing, though, too. I think people because we've been doing this for so long, and it is our identity. And when I say identity, it's one of the things that I love. Rye, my husband, he always says, he goes, fitness should be a part of your life. It shouldn't control your life, right? Fitness and health, when it's done properly. And I think people sometimes they see us and they think that we don't have these down moments of not wanting to work out and or you know
Exactly.
we just had a tragedy in our household, and we had to fly to New York, and we were there for a week, and I ate the sugar and I didn't do the walks, and you know what I mean, it was just like we don't have those, like we don't have human moments. I think
Exactly.
they
Like,
think.
yeah. I used to go out with clients, like when I had my gym, we'd go out and eat, and I'm like, they're all thinking they got to order like the healthiest thing on the
Yeah,
menu, and I'm ordering like burgers and fries, and they look at me like, you're going to eat that? Like, hell
right.
yeah, I'm going to eat this. Like, I don't eat this all the time. This is not every day, and I also don't have the same goals that you guys have, but still,
Right.
right? Um,
Right.
yeah, I teach the 80-20 principle, which is, 80% of the time you're doing the things that are moving you in the direction of your goals, and
Hmm.
20% of the time you're living life and you're indulging, right? And that
Yeah.
20%, it works out to be a good amount of time where you're not feeling deprived. Because I'm not a believer in like deprivation and
Right.
never having any of the things that you enjoy, right? You've got to incorporate that, but it can't be all the time. And I think that's kind of where a lot of people have gotten lost in the sauce, where they don't know how to create boundaries around food and inactivity and some of the other unhealthy lifestyle habits that we have.
Yeah. I mean, and that's where like community. I always press on people that it's so important because it can be difficult when you're surrounded by people that don't operate within the same way that you want to operate, right? So it can be weighing, especially like if it's your spouse and it's like then you have your kids and say, okay, but you have to be strong enough to say, okay, this is how I want to feel and this is how what I want to achieve and why. Be strong enough and then communicate that. That's what I always try to share with our women. I'm like, you have to not just set your intentions, but you got to share your intentions and say, okay, you can either be on board or step aside or follow. I don't care. Just don't get in my way.
Don't get in my way. Yeah, but a lot of women aren't having those conversations.
They're not. I'm like,
not.
they're, and that makes me sad. It's like, I'm like, is it they don't have the confidence or, I mean, I don't know what it is sometimes and why they don't have those conversations. I mean, just communicate. If you can't communicate in your household, then why are you there?
Yeah. I mean, hard. It's just one of those hard conversations that are often hard to have for women. And it's not just with their spouses, but it's also common thing I see is like in the work environment where women are just like, they're working like, I had to be in the office at 7 a.m. and I didn't leave till 8. Like, when am I supposed to have time to work out? Like, my boss came. I'm like, well, you need to have a conversation with your boss. Like, this is important. You've got to take care of yourself. Otherwise, you're not going to be very good at your job. Or, God forbid, you're not going to even be around to do your job. Yeah. So if they don't understand that, which I think any, decent human being would understand that, like, I need at least an hour of my day to be able to take care of myself. So I'm going to come in an hour later or I'm going to leave an hour earlier, and it may not be every day, but it's going to be some days of the week. But as you said, sometimes, unfortunately those conversations don't happen.
Because we're people pleasers. That's what,
Yeah,
and
there's that too.
A lot of times it's one of our best traits is our worst traits, right? Detrimental to what we truly want. So you've alluded to some, like, what are a lot of 80/20 is like part of your philosophy. Like, what are like foundations that you teach, if that makes sense? Like, absolutely. If I said to you, all right, what are the 4 or 5 things that I need to do? Does that make sense how I'm asking that question?
4 or 5. One, what I mentioned earlier, is strength training. You got to lift weights. Lift weights. The 80/20 is one because a lot of women aren't, or I say women, I'm using that just because that's our demographic that we're speaking to, but this applies to everyone. Is anything that's not sustainable is not worth doing, in my opinion, right? There's so many ways you can lose weight and change your body, but if you can't maintain that for the long run, then what's the point? Because then you're just going back to where you've been, right? So you've got to, so I guess that will be number 2 is sustainability. Whatever you do, whatever your route you're choosing to take, it needs to be one that you can see yourself doing as long as you're alive, right? So sustainability. The 80/20, just the balance, having, being able to enjoy life, but still move towards your goals. And then this is so cliche, but it's off like 90%, if not more of I think one of the reasons why people don't achieve their goals is because they lack consistency and just the discipline. They're not consistent. Right? You've got to keep doing the thing. Like, you could have not even the best workout program on the planet or the best meal plan on the planet, and you can still make progress if you're consistently doing it. But we're so programmed to like being gratified immediately, right? That's just how our society programs us. Like, I had a conversation with a client today. She's like, it's moving so slow. Like, why is it taking so long? I'm like, well, how long did it take you to gain your weight? And it's never a week or 2. It's always years usually, right? It takes time. Not saying that it's going to take years to lose weight, but my point is it's a gradual process of gaining weight, and it's the same in losing weight. And so because we don't see that immediate change tend to not be consistent, right? Like, oh, this isn't
Right.
working, so I'm gonna, I'll eat the pizza today, and I'll eat the pizza tomorrow, and I'll have the cheesecake, and oh, I don't feel like working out, and then it snowballs to where you're always having to start over. So consistency is huge. I think that was four. Strength train, be consistent, find a sustainable program, something that
There we
you
go.
can
Yeah.
stick to, and then nothing that, and then finding the balance where you can still enjoy life, because, you got to sometimes you love pizza too, like it's my favorite food.
Oh,
Like
I
I'm
love
never
pizza.
gonna, if you tell me I can't ever have pizza again, I'm never listening to you again. You know what I mean? It's not realistic.
I
Right?
know.
So,
It's I'm dairy intolerant and gluten intolerant, but I'll still. I'm like, I don't do dairy free and I don't do gluten free pizza. I'm like, I want the real deal.
you,
I
you
pay
got it.
for it,
And
but
another
I
thing
don't.
that you touched on earlier is important is community. And if that's not at home, then you got to find that elsewhere. That was one of the things that was so, I think, impactful about my gym community, and just the CrossFit world in general. It's such a community. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's like that one time of day where you're like with like-minded people and people who are on the same mission as you are. So even if you go home and you have like not the most supportive household, you still know you have this place that you can go to. So I do think that having support, I mean, we all need support to some degree. And
Oh
I
yeah.
think prioritizing finding that, if it's in your household, that's great. But if not, then you got to find, friends or a community such as yours or whatever it may be to support what you're trying to achieve. So that's
Yeah, it's
five.
constantly. Yeah, that's five. There we go. Awesome. I put you on the spot. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all
Well, Shondelle, thank you so much for taking time out and just having the conversation with me. I cannot wait to bring you back, and I cannot wait for our kickoff of the new year because it's going to totally kick ass. Well, thanks for being on, and guys, we will see you on the next episode. Remember, aging is inevitable, but aging poorly is not. All right? Bye, guys.